depending on the hoppers, because the ones in Chile have
All right,
tandem.
we're live.
We're live!
That's
Yay!
what you do,
We're
though.
live. What's that?
That's what you do because, I have hoppers with all different color legs all around
Yeah.
here too.
Yeah. Does it matter? Probably not.
Of course it matters. Otherwise we'd be fishing Velveeta and night crawlers.
Yeah. So anyway, welcome to the monthly tie-off, and I have some really bad news for you guys, and it's also bad news for Cheech and me that Tim Flagler is not going to be able to make it today. Tim has been on a road trip from hell, going to all the fly fishing shows, and he got stuck in an airport last night and had to fly overnight and got it. I think he got it. Hopefully he got in early this morning, but he's just not ready. So Cheech, it's not going to be as much fun because you and I typically gang up on Flagler, and it's going to be, we're going to have to gang up on each other, I guess.
I'll try to comment for Flagler too, because Tim would expect me to do that. Or maybe Flagler just couldn't find like a good patch of calf body hair, so he had to bow out.
Well, I'm a little suspicious because when this was the fly I picked, and I sent the information to Tim and Joan, and Joan said that Tim was screaming and moaning in the background because it's not a fly that he likes to tie.
And I saw him in Denver, and I asked him. He just kind of shook his head. So
yeah. So I think he chickened out. I honestly, I'm going to check and find out if he really missed that flight. Anyway.
Yeah, no doubt. Because you should be able to tie a fly with a hunk of metal in your fingers, a couple chicken feathers, and your wife holding the camera on the other side, regardless of where you are.
Yeah,
it's not that hard.
So, anyways, it won't be as much fun with Tim, but we'll do our best, Cheech, right, to entertain people.
Correct.
We'll see what happens.
You're still going to see, the first and second place fly. So yeah, I mean, just imagine watching one of the tie-offs and not having to look at the crappy third place fly.
At least I won't get third place this time, right?
This is your odds are very good unless Davis has a vice.
Yeah. Can you guys hear those dogs barking?
Yeah, but that's part of it.
Yeah, well, it must be the UPS man is here. They'll stop in a couple of minutes. Anyway, dogs. The UPS man gives them biscuits, so when he comes, they want to get out and jump all over him because he gives them dog biscuits. Anyway, the fly is one that I picked this month. It's Schroder's parachute hopper, and this is a fly that you don't see as much of anymore, except in guides fly boxes. I've noticed that when the fish get picky on hoppers and they get tired of looking at foam and rubber legs, because that's what everybody wants to throw because they float well and you can see them. I found that an awful lot of guides will pull this fly out of their box when the fish are picky. So, and for me, it's a real go-to hopper pattern. Cheech, you use this fly a lot?
It's been a long time since I've used it, but one day that I remember, there was a small stream full of cut bows here in the West, and for whatever reason, if that fly even touched the water near one of these things, they would crush it. I also got poison ivy that day and hiked out on a stress fractured ankle. It was awesome, but the thing that stuck out most of me was the fly. So
you have bad memories of this fly, just like Flagler, I guess.
But I smacked him, dude. I caught a lot of fish on that one. So I'm glad that you made this the fly because, to be frank, I hate knotted pheasant tail legs. It's It sucks. And I had to
Yeah,
work on it.
there's a trick, and you and I are going to show people the trick, right?
Yep. We're gonna call this episode Skill Builders by Tom and Cheech.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, right. So, shall we start? Because this one may take a while.
It might take you a while.
Oh, okay. Well,
Well,
yeah.
just keep in mind that it's just us here. We don't have to wait for Flagler to,
Yeah, true.
pull out the 16 tools to do the job of one that only needs 2.
Yeah.
And you're gonna burn something with your cautery tool at some point.
No,
So
I'm not. I'm not using my cautery tool on this one.
okay,
I
well,
promise.
I brought
No,
mine just in
there,
case.
no flames will be lit, and Flagler won't be here to burn his fly at the end. So,
Yeah.
if those of you who didn't get that reference, check out last month. It's on the Orvis YouTube channel under Tying with Tom. Last month's tying session, at the end, Tim set his fly on fire.
I think in the video game world they call that a rage quit. So
yeah,
he
okay.
was just done. That's him pushing the power button and just taking his ball going home. I don't blame him.
Yeah.
He was so mad about that when I saw him in the Denver show, I was tying those Goddards for people, right? So I took one and I put it in his vise while he was teaching. And by the time I got back, he had one of his tied right next to it just to show I could really do this. I could just
Did he burn his? Did he burn his too?
No, he trimmed it nice, but he's like, he was just showing somebody what a real Goddard caddis should look like,
All right.
Anyway.
Well, shall we start by knotting the legs? Shall we show that to people first?
Sure. Yeah, you want to go first, or do I
go?
I'll go. You go first because it's your fly.
Yeah, I think I go first because it's my fly. Okay, so
and for those who are following along, don't hesitate to drop any questions you have in the chat on whatever platform you're on, and we will respond to those as we can, or we'll get Cheech and Tom to respond. And looking forward to it.
So this is the tool that Cheech and I are using, and I think it's for crocheting or something. I don't know, but it has a loop on the end and a little thing that opens. I'll show you that closer up. But do you know what it's called, Cheech?
Oh man, why did you have to ask me? I don't know. I think it's for some sort of knitting.
Yeah, it's some sort of knitting.
It's an American cultural tool for knitting things.
It's an American cultural tool.
Hey, take that out of there real quick. I want to show the people something. That thing is shaped like Yoshi's head. Look at that thing. In Super Mario Brothers, there's a dude named Yoshi, and it's shaped like that. The video gamers will get it.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to focus on this.
It's called a latch hook crochet needle.
Latch hook, but you got to get a little one. I bought a couple that were way too big, and I couldn't use it. So you got to get the smallest one they sell. So here's how you do it. You take pheasant tail, and Cheech and I were talking about the legs, and some hoppers have red legs, and some hoppers have tan legs, and some hoppers have orange legs. So you can go crazy and tie them with different legs. But what you want to do is get, I don't know, maybe a half dozen pheasant fibers, cut them off, and then you wet them. I do it in my mouth for the squeamish there. You can do it in a bowl of water. And you just take these fibers and you form a loop with them. You have to pinch it like so. Now I'm going to come over to the other camera. So I've got this loop here. Oh, I got to start again. And this is tricky, and it'll take you a bit to get used to it. But once you get the hang of it, so you want to close this hook. You can open, yeah. I close this hook, and then you put the loop over the needle, over the thing, latch hook, and then you open it up.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah, and I got to do it again because I lost it. Believe me, this looks tricky, but it's a lot easier than doing it with your fingers. And what I would recommend is that people make a whole bunch of legs before you start tying. Okay, so I'm going to put this over that thing, and then I'm going to just open this up, lift it up, and take the ends and bring them through that hook. And then that thing will close, and then you pull it over the end, and you just kind of help it over the end, and you've got a knotted leg. And then you pull it tight, and there's your hopper leg, or daddy leg, or whatever jointed leg you're making. So it's a neat little tool, and quite easy to use.
Sweet.
Cheech, do you need to show how you do it? Or
yeah, I do. I have a few little tricks and opinions and things like that.
I figured you would.
So I like to put mine in my fly tying vise. I just broke mine right off. I stole this technique from a video I saw from Mr. Barry Ord Clark. But what I'm going to do is I like to grab 4 fibers. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm just going to break those off. Wait, do I have this view? Oh, yeah. See, so I have this thing in my vise here. What I'm going to do is grab the tips with my right hand and just kind of make a loop with those so that I can get this over the top of this. Brig, will you push number 1? I have assistance. So I'm going to take this with my hands now and just slide it over there. Come in here with, come in here with another finger. And put the tips into the gap here and pull it over the front. Now, I'm actually going to shorten that because I just want the tips in the knot. So I was able to shorten that a tiny little bit by pulling it through the hook, and just like Tom said, pull it tight. Now I'm going to prep one more thing is I'm going to get rid of these. I can see Tom just cuts his off the stem.
Yeah, I just chop them on.
I'm going to take some dubbing wax, put it on my finger, and then I'm going to take my finger and tease these down. So the dubbing wax, I'll do it a little bit more while I'm prepping these, but the dubbing wax will keep those fibers together to a certain degree, just like that. All right, so
yeah,
you make 2 of those. Tom, were you making the other one while I was making mine?
I already got a couple made, so I just wanted to show people.
So I'm going to go ahead and make another one while you go on to your next step, if that's all right.
So Davis can put me on. There you go. All right. So I am using for this fly. I'm using a new hook. I got these from Hairline. It's a 2X. It's a Mustad Alpha Point classic long dry, 2X long, and it's got kind of a matte finish to it, and it has a real tiny micro barb, so it'll be easy to debarb. And I like dry fly hooks for this. I know some people use a nymph hook, but
hey Tom, look at how big the eye is on that thing too. Those hooks are awesome, super sharp.
Yeah, it's a pretty good size eye. Yeah, I like them.
I'm surprised that's not the first thing you looked at.
No, I got something else coming along that line.
Uh-oh.
All right, I think I'm not in focus here. There we go. And I'm going to use 12-0 thread for my tying. And I'm going to put my parachute wing on first. So what I'm going to do is cover about half the shank with thread. I find that this keeps your calf tail from slipping. I don't like tying it to a bare shank. And I purposely want this a little rough and messy. I don't want a nice smooth thread base. I want it to be kind of rough so that I can get that calf tail in there. And then I'm going to take some calf body here. Now you can make the wing out of any white stuff that you want. Parapost is a lot easier to work with than calf tail. But I'm going to tie this pretty close to the way Ed Schroder originally tied it. And Ed is a great angler. He must be in his 80s now. Haven't heard from him a couple of years, but he's a good friend and fishing buddy. Had the pleasure of fishing with Ed a couple times, and this is a real brilliant fly. So I'm going to take some calf body. Somebody sent me that calf body here and wrote moo on it, and I forgot who it was.
You know what? This was going to be our opportunity to rub it in Flagler's face that he doesn't have any good calf body hair right now, and you and I do.
Yeah. This stuff is better than that piece you sent me, and I'm going to cut.
No way.
It is. It's better. I'm going to cut quite a bit of calf body, and what I'm going to do is the first thing I do, because calf body's tricky to work with, and I found, actually, I'm going to use this as a background so you can see that better. The first thing I do is to remove a lot of the upper hairs, the bigger hairs, because I find that they're coarser and they're a little bit more difficult to tie in. So I'm going to pull them out, and then I'm going to pinch the tips and then pull out all the fuzz. And this takes a while. I don't find a comb works very well. You have to kind of use your fingers and work in there, because you want all those little fibers are not going to do you any good. They're just going to add bulk, and they're not going to add any substance to the wing. So I really clean it up with my fingers, and I pull pretty hard to get all those little haters out of there. That's a Cheech
They are
word,
haters.
by the way. They are haters. And then I'm going to stack it, of course. And Flagler would have some weird way of stacking it, but
No doubt.
he's
It's
not
like
here.
a tool that has 14
Oh,
steps.
no.
See, that's what you get for talking about my friend Tim like that.
I know. Make sure you get them all in there. Okay. And then I like to twirl this. I don't know if it does anything, but I twirl it anyways.
Oh,
And
man.
then
Hitting it with
there's
the
my
twirl.
nice evened out wing. I'll grab that. And then I'll actually pull once more to see if there's any more haters in there. But there always are some left. And now I got hopefully a pretty uniform bunch of calf body. And then I will go over here. And I like this wing to be about 3/4 of a shank length on this hook. You don't want your wing too high on a hopper pattern. You want it visible. And then I'm going to pinch tie this in. I'm going to hold my finger against the far side of the shank so that it doesn't roll. And I'm going to go back 5 or 6 times, really putting some pressure on there. And then I will taper this like so. And you usually have to kind of roll it back on before you bind it down. And then some nice firm winds to get a little bit of a taper there in your body. And then you raise it up. Just push it, raise it up, bring your thread around in front. And because I'm using 12-0 thread, I have to, and notice I'm not just wrapping up against there. I'm making like a ramp, because if you just try to build up thread right in front of that wing, it'll collapse on you. And you need quite a bit to get it to, you want to stop and say, okay, is that upright? Maybe I'll do a couple more. And then you gather it up, go around the base, make sure you're getting all the hairs, wrap a post up there.
You wrap your post counter to the direction that I wrap mine.
Huh.
That's weird. I have, or maybe I'm weird.
I don't know. Well, Flagler would tell you that there's absolutely a right way to do it.
Oh yeah, he would tell you where it was written in what book by whom.
Yeah. One of the things that there was a question on our last tying session, Cheech, that I really thought we should answer, because it said, just this camera here, because it asked, when you guys tie practice flies, do they ever come out better than the ones that you do live? And my answer is almost always they're better.
Yeah, always.
Because I don't know about you, but I'm hunched over. I'm tying standing up. I'm hunched over a camera trying to get in. I got a light overhead and a light over here, and so it's it's always harder to do it this way.
I agree. Yeah, you have a bunch of unnatural stuff, and then you're having to explain the steps while you're tying. So it's a challenge. I have 5 hoppers in front of me that I would feel comfortable sending to anybody, but I don't know if this one I'm tying live is gonna be as good.
Oh, it will. I guarantee it will.
Well,
I should be giving you grief.
Well, we got to be nice to each other, I guess, since Tim's not. Well, no, I was giving you a little bit of grief. Grief away.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Okay. All right.
All right. So I'm using a TMCO 5212 hook right here. I'm using a size 10. This is actually a dry fly hook. On foam flies, I typically like to use a nymph hook because it's a little heavier. It helps it keel. But because this is all natural materials, I like to do this one on a dry fly hook. So similar to Tom, I'm going to take a section of my calf body hair, and let's see, I'm going to take out a pretty healthy clump. I think that's kind of the name of the game with calf body hair. You always are going to end up with less than you think. But I like these thicky thicks on the top, you know. I'm going to leave them in. I'm going to let them get some playing time, you know.
Okay.
It's a different league these days. Okay. And I will use a comb as well to start out. Even though comb doesn't work for Tom, check out how much I got out of there. So it works great for us.
You can tell a comb doesn't work for me. Look at my head.
Oh yeah, well, I'm along those lines as well. All right. So here I've got a nice clump of calf. And here's a little trick. I like to take my hair stacker and put it at an angle like this. Stick this in here, rotate it around, and then just kind of let it slide down. If you put it in directly straight up and down, sometimes the fibers can fall too fast and tangle all up. So I don't need to stack this near as long as Rosenbauer did his, but there, we have that ready. We're going to go back.
I need all the edge I can get against you, Cheech.
Yeah, right. All right, so I'm going to take some GSP thread, and it's really, really slippery. What is this? This is actually 18-aught GSP. I'm using purple just so I can see it while I tie, and it matches my vise. But if I do this right, you shouldn't see any thread at the end of it. But I just like this because I feel like on the Schroders, or is it Schroders or Schraders? I'm like Schroder.
Schroder.
I say Schroder because Jay Schroder was a Raiders quarterback when I was a kid. All right. For the Schroder's hopper, I think that if you have too much bulk throughout the body, it kind of does the fly disservice. So I think by using this tiny thread, I can keep the bulk to a minimum. So my hook's slightly angling down. Now it's slightly angling up. Now it's just right.
Yeah.
Okay. So here I have my clump of hair. We'll grab onto that bad boy. And I'm going to tie it in. I'm going to get rid of a couple of those. And you can do that. Like, see how I'm just peeling those off my finger like that? And I'm just getting a few of those out of there just to thin it out. If you have to restack again after that, you can. I'm going to. Just because I can do it
double
fast.
stack, double stack.
The double stack. And it just fell out.
Points
okay.
off. Points off. Points off.
Points
for a
off.
Double stack.
Yeah, he had to double stack. But I'm going to get extra points for the save because they fell out just like yours did. So we're both being penalized points
true.
there.
That's true. I did.
And this is exactly what we're talking about. When you're trying to explain what you're doing and it all goes wrong and you have to find the spot where you were before, yada, yada, yada. All right. So I am going to tie that in about, equal length of the body or something like that. About the size that I want it to be so I can see it. So about right here, I'll do a pinch wrap. See how that happened? Calf body hair and GSP doesn't like to play nice. So I'm going to do that again. And before I put pressure on it this time, I'm going to make sure I have a few wraps. So I'm going to keep my fingers on this as I wrap back. Okay, perfect. Now I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut a pretty aggressive angle back.
So far, we're doing this almost exactly the same way. If Flagler was here, he'd be doing something weird.
No doubt. He'd have like some tool that a guy gave him that was made out of a tree from his backyard or something.
Yeah.
All right. So just like old Tom, see how that rolled on me? Not a big deal. We're going to fix all that.
Old Tom.
That's how we talk here in the West. All right. See how I'm wrapping that back? And it just made a really nice taper. So I'm going to go back up the fly, cover that up. And now it's time to prop this up. And I'm going to mash my thread down in with really tight wraps. Now, see how my thread probably isn't going to hold up like Tom's did. So I have a little hack for that. Before we go any further, though, I'm going to take this and I'm going to wrap a parachute post. I just do a few tight wraps and then I can just take my thread off of that. And just by using the tension of the wraps underneath the previous wrap, I can just wrap up it and then back down. Okay, so the big question is, how do you get that wing to stay straight up and down with GSP? So what I do is I do a cheater method. I want to build some scaffolding in there. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come here like this, and I'm going to come around the top of the post and just kind of back down here. So I'm building it's like when you're wrapping your ankle before a football game or something. So you can do that. And then also I'm going to take a little bit of dubbing and I'm going to mash that in front of that post. So the dubbing just kind of creates a little foundation there. And once I have that, I'm going to take a little bit of super glue and tack that in. And we ought to be good to go. Boom, All right. The gentleman from Vermont may have the floor.
Okay. Looks good, Cheech. All right. So the first thing that I am going to do is I am going to prepare my rib. And the rib is a piece of 140 denier brown thread. You can use any old cotton sewing thread or whatever. It's just a rib. Brown thread is the rib for this. And what I like to do is to run this thread through some wax, because I'm going to double it over, and the wax helps it stay together. I'm just going to rub it, just put it through some wax. So I'm going to have a doubled piece of thread. And bring it over to my vise. And figure out which glasses I need here. And I am going to fold it. Fold it over my thread, double it. Oops, I didn't want to start there. That's all right, I can get it over there. And then just wind back.
In today's episode of How to Make a Rib More Complicated.
Oh, that's just...
That looks awesome.
Cheech. It works. And then I'm going to make the body now. And I like to use, for this particular fly, beaver dubbing. It's a natural fur. It's quite naturally water repellent. I actually did a test the other day, or the other week, and did a bunch of dubbed bodies on a hook and threw them in a bowl of water. And I had muskrat and CDC, dubbed CDC, and all kinds of synthetics. And the muskrat actually did float better and longer than any of the synthetics. This was without any fly floating. So without any fly floating, I think that the natural furs do make a difference. So this is beaver dubbing, natural beaver dubbing. And I think I'm going to bring this camera over here so you can see, just watch me dub. And I'm going to, I like a fairly thick body on this, because if you look at a hopper from underneath, it's a pretty, I got calf body hairs inside this beaver dubbing. If you look at a hopper from underneath, it's a pretty substantial body that they've got. So I like it. I like it with some Kardashian.
It's all right. You can say you like a thick body on your hopper.
I don't. Okay. And you can see that beaver dubbing really dubs
very
nicely.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Now switch cameras, go to the close-up, and then I'm just going to wind my dubbed body. Now, did I wind that dubbing clockwise or counterclockwise? Because it matters to Flagler. And
he'll tell you.
I don't know. And I'm going to go right to the, actually, that's a little too much. So I'm just going to pick a little bit of it off. I don't know which way I go, and it doesn't matter. I've proven it to myself. I'm going to go bring that dubbing right up to the wing, and then I'm going to come back a little bit onto the dubbing, because when I put my turkey wing on there, I want a little bit wider base. I think it makes it easier. So I'm just going to wind this complicated rib through the body.
That looks awesome, actually. I was thinking you were going to twist it up.
No, just flat.
That is nice.
Thank you. And then I got to get my scissors and trim that off.
Looks like you could have waxed a set of skis with the amount of wax you used on it too.
I'm old enough to remember waxed skis. I think I still have a pair in the basement. Okay. I'm good.
Well,
for that
there
step.
she blows. Very nice work. Let's see here. All right, so let's see if I can clean this up a little bit. What I'm going to use for my rib, it's this, what is it? It's big fly fiber from UTC, and it's 400 denier.
400, so you don't have to double it.
Oh no, see, I went, you guys always make fun of me because you're like, oh, I don't have a shop in my basement.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Are you going to wax it?
No. See, that's what I'm saying is I, for somehow, some way, I have been able to do this with no wax. All right.
Are you going to clean up those calf body hairs that are sticking out beyond the end of the hook?
No, because look, that's part of the dubbing. Don't you worry there, bud. There's gonna be some stuff going on here. All right.
Oh, yeah.
So
okay. All right.
All that song and dance about all these natural fibers. No, we're just using ultra dry dub, synthetic as it gets. Floats high, looks buggy. Now check out this dub technique. One thing that I like to do is hold like a pretty big chunk of dubbing in my left hand. And as I dub, I'm going to just grab a little chunk with my right hand and pull it up into my dubbing noodle and then just kind of start working it down. Now, I'm going to make this pretty gnarly and shaggy on purpose. And it's going to look like Brigham came and dubbed it, but I assure you he did not.
Brigham, Brig. I turned the camera off right now after that comment.
See, Brig.
Just end it.
Tom says you can hijack the Orvis channel if you want. All right.
Yeah.
So let's see. You can see that that's kind of a gnarly dubbing loop. It's pretty big. So there's our dubbing loop. What I'm going to do now is close this off and turn it into a dubbing loop, get rid of my thread, and spin it up with a dubbing twister. So watch this dubbing as it twists, and you'll see it cord up really nicely. So I'll do some more twists. I remembered I had been doubling my thread up so it would cord up better. So once I have it there, I'm just going to use a rotary technique to wrap this up the body. And I go right up to the post just like Tom did. And the reason you do that is because like Tom was saying is if you don't have a wide base to tie your wing in, what happens is that wing will sit up at an angle like this instead of laying flat. So, all right. I'm also going to use the rotary feature to wrap my rib, but I throw a quick whip finish in there before I do it because I do it the opposite way my dubbing was wrapped. Kind of space out that ribbing as I go forward to there. All right. Now, because a hopper's body's pretty slim, I'm just going to kind of come in here and clean up some of these. And that is a super high floating dub for bodies on dry fly. So anyway, that's how I like to do my body.
A little
And,
different.
Yeah, a little different, but pretty much the same, right?
Yep. Yep.
And it's your turn, I think.
Okay. Oh, I wanted to show people something.
Uh-oh.
Oh, just so the wing on this is the part that Tim hates the most, because he says it's not durable. And yeah, it's not as durable as yarn or something like that. But what the best way to the best way to make a wing is to take a turkey feather and hit it with, and you got to do this outside, hit it with something like this. This is the brand I like, Krylon Crystal Clear. It's a artist fixative, and you don't want to use it inside because I think it's got a lot of volatile organics in it. So you take it outside and you spray your turkey feather with it, and then you get a nice durable wing. Now, this is a genuine oak mottled turkey, and you can't find these anymore. If you ever see a turkey feather wing quill that looks like this, buy it. Buy as many as you can, because it was a domestic turkey, not a white turkey, but a domestic dark turkey, and they just don't raise them anymore. All the turkeys are white. So what you get when you buy mottled turkey these days is this, and yeah, it's fine for a hopper wing, but it doesn't have the same speckling as the old oak mottled turkey. This, I believe, this one here, kind you can get, I believe it's from a wild turkey. It's a secondary feather, not a primary, but a secondary feather from a wild turkey. And these work fine too, but this just looks so much more like a hopper wing that I really like it. And because that is kind of glued together, it's flexible. So you could use Flex Cement, I guess, but Flex Cement is kind of messy to use for something like this. And what you want to do is take a dubbing needle or the point of your scissors and figure out how big you want your wings. About a hook gap, I think, is about right. And then peel it apart like so. Cut it off at the base. It's accordioning on me. I didn't snip that well enough. Hopefully it'll stay together. And
I hope it falls apart.
Yeah, I know you do. And you see there's a curve in there. I don't want that. So I cut it off here, flush, so it's a little bit more straight. And you can see part of that feather is going to be straight, right? Part of it's going to curve at the end. So this is the part I want, where it's relatively straight. And then I come over to my fly and buck it right up against and I want this wing to go just a little bit past the bend of the hook. So I'll start cutting it there. And I'll finish here. And then I will just round off the ends of those to make it a little tapered wing, like a hopper wing, something like that. So you got the right shape. And
do you think Flagler would agree that that's the right shape?
No, he would have had something totally different.
Yeah.
And then you butt that right up against, you know what? That looks a little big. So I'm just going to peel a couple fibers off there because I think that's just a little bit too wide. I hope I'm not screwing this up. I'm just peeling a few fibers off there. It's a little bit. And then I'm going to bucket right up against there and bring my thread around and try not to catch your wing, but try not to make it fold too much so that it looks like a hopper wing.
And there you have it.
That looks okay. Couple more turns to secure it. And just make sure it looks, looks good at all angles. Looks pretty good. And then I'll tie my legs in now too, Cheech.
Perfect.
So I chop off my legs. So I'm just gonna lop this off like so, and put one on the far side, right about the length of the wing. Just hold it against the far side and not worry too much about the angle because I'm going to fix that later. And I'm going to lop off the other leg and just place that against the near side. And I happen to use red here, but as I said, you can make these legs tan, or you can use natural pheasant tail. Oop, I don't like where that went. I don't like where that went.
Just leave it. Fish will eat it.
No. I know fish will eat it, probably eat it without the legs, but it wouldn't look as pretty, right?
Yep. And then you just kind of have less respect for that fish, because it ate a chunky fly.
It ate a chunky fly, yeah. And then I like to come around in front and further secure those legs. And this is why you definitely want 2 scissors for most of your fly tying. You want a fine pair like this because you can come in and trim that excess away.
We have a great view of your fingers right now.
Sorry.
I'm just trying to get in your head.
I know, Cheech, you got me. And then bind it down a little bit. Oh, I might need a cautery tool.
Yep. Just light the whole thing on fire. It works. Trust me. Just torch it.
And I'm going to leave that as it is and turn it over to you, Cheech.
All righty. All right. Here's what we got going here. We're going to throw on a wing, much like Mr. Tom showed us. This is my turkey feather that I've got. So it's a pretty nice one. It's a mottled one, but it's not that light color that Tom had. So what I do to my wings, you can see I treated this side of it. Okay, you can see how it's shiny. And I do it with loon soft head. So what I do is I just take the loon soft head and I just paste it on there with a brush. What does it say? What are those legs made of? We had a question that just came in.
Yeah, I don't think we said anything about it. They're pheasant tail.
They're made out of pheasant tails, just like this. If you have to rewatch the video, that's the first thing we did on there. So
but I don't know if we we did say pheasant tail.
Yeah. They watched you cut yours off the stem while I was wondering why you don't just break them off of there. But anyway, we won't go into that. So
because it's the right way to do it.
No, it's not. All right. So anyway, I'm going to take mine, and what I like to do is I like to come in here and I like to cut the width that I'm looking for, just like that, about like that, and then I can just grab this whole thing and just peel it right off. So, and then I'll double check. So it's common to get more than you think. So I'm going to come in here with a little bodkin and check my width first. So I'm hook gap width, and then there's a sweet spot in this thing that goes from about here to here, and that's what I'm going to try to use on this. So I'm going to chop that off on the back. I'm going to switch to this one now. So here's what I've got. Nice little chunk of turkey. And I want my let's see, I'm going to tie it in on this side. And I want my wing to go past the hook by a certain amount. So here I've got a nice little rectangle of turkey. I'm going to fold it in half now. And I do the inverse of what Tom did for his. I'm just going to cut it like this. So mine's going to be shaped like that.
Oh.
So you got them groaning. That's the first variance there, Tom.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to lay that right on top. And make sure I'm
looks
nice
more like
and
a
centered.
caddis. Looks more like a caddis wing. Hoppers
Not
don't
for the
have a
hoppers
notch
that are in
their
my
wings.
area, buddy. All right.
Do they have a notch in their wing? I got to go look at my photographs. I don't know. It looks like a caddisfly to me.
Well, it's going to be a caddisfly that catches every hopper-eating fish out there. You know, I would expect this from Flagler, but definitely not you. All right.
Well, we got to entertain these people, Cheech.
All right. So and the reason why I do
we don't have Flagler to kick around, so we
yeah. So I digress. The reason I do the notch in the tail like that is to piss off dudes who are older than me. So there you have it. All right. We are going to do some legs now, and I found a way. Let's see if I can show this. So cut off any of this stuff on the fat end that may, you know what, it might be easier to show this. But you cut off any of the stuff where you pull it off or cut it off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab it with my fingers and pinch it and see which way the leg kicks off, right? So if I pinch it and the leg is kind of bends this way, that's what's going to happen when I tie it on my fly. So I just kind of manipulate that leg until it kicks exactly how I want it to. And then I'm going to pinch it on the fly, tie it in with 2 turns and test it or to check it. Okay. So that is not what I wanted to do yet. So there I've got a pretty good angle off the fly. And we'll see if we can duplicate that on the other side. But it's all, the angle of the legs is all based on this pinch. So, and if you have to rearrange the legs a little bit to get it to sit right, like this batch, you do it. But I think that the majority of the Schroder's hoppers that I see in bins, they kind of just give up on the legs because they're hard to get to sit right. But, you know, if you learn how to do them properly, it's really not that difficult. So that's kind of where we're at. And then I'm going to trim these too because those are a little long, just by a little tiny bit. And I'm going to see if I can.
They're not even. They're not even. You didn't trim them even.
That's just me throwing you a bone, Tom. But thanks. Watch this.
Oh.
Pretty even now. And also look at the angle.
I shouldn't have said anything.
What's that? Beautiful. Oh, I would have seen it, buddy. This is the first time I've looked up at the camera. All right. So now, without adding a lot of thread wraps back where the legs are, because I don't want to screw that up, I'm just going to get rid of these here. There's no need, in my opinion, to wrap them all the way to the hook eye and clog your hook eye that you have to use a cautery tool to clean out. Anyway, that's all I got. It's your turn.
It's clean now. Okay. So I'm going to prepare my hackle next. And it's a Grizzly saddle. Hard to find Grizzly saddle. It's hard to find Grizzly saddle big enough to tie a 10 or a 12.
Yeah, you really have to look or just buy a cape.
You do. Yeah. But saddle hackle winds so much nicer.
That's true.
And I'm trying to find a bigger one here. There's a bigger one. That might be too big. Where'd that come from? There's a good one. Okay. So, and yeah, you can use a hackle gauge or whatever, but I tie enough that I can kind of eyeball it and figure out. And with a saddle hackle like this, you can get a couple flies out of it. So I'm going to strip some fibers off the base, and then at the shiny side is facing me. I'm going to pull a few more off on the bottom. And I'm going to leave that stem long. There's a reason. I'm also going to cut this hackle in half because I don't need all that. I'll save that for another fly. And then I find that and you want to really secure this hackle stem because you're going to be yanking on it. And I find that if I have the dull side facing me, I find it flips the hackle better. And then I'm going to wind it up the post to where I'm going to start. So I had the dull side facing at me. And then go down quickly. And then even give it a few more turns. So that no way that thing's going to slip out. And I left that long because it's easier to find that end. And then I'm going to put some dubbing on here, Cheech, and then we'll do the moment of truth last. Which is where it all comes together.
Really, you think the hackle is where it all comes together, and it's not the legs?
Oh, I think so. I think it's the hackle.
Oh, okay.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my same beaver dubbing and dub a fairly long but thin noodle because I've already got a fairly thick thorax. Toppers do have quite a thick, heavy, wide thorax, but I've already got quite a bit built up there because, as Cheech said, I brought those pheasant tails in front of my
haters.
And I'm going way down. Not going to bother with the other camera. And then I'm going to wind back to the wing. Get that thing out of the way. Come back. And then to make sure that my legs are fully in place, I like to just carefully bring a little dubbing behind them. And that kind of kicks them out a little bit where I want them. Because I find that if I try to do it with thread, it just doesn't do it for me. So you can see and then I like to turn it over and make sure I've covered up all those thread wraps just for neatness. And then cover this up and then wind forward. And there it is. Of course, when hoppers fall in the water, they always have to make sure that their legs are even and neat, right?
Exactly. Flagler would explain to us what the scientific phenomenon is called when they do that, but
I do notice I've done some underwater photography of hoppers from down below, and their legs do kick up when they're in the water. They kick up above the wing when they're floating. So that's why I like them to kick up a little bit. Okay.
Absolutely.
Tom, we got a question in the chat. Would it be easier to reposition the fly vertically to be able to tie and wrap the hackle?
In some flies, in this one I don't. Cheech may do it that way. I don't.
I don't do it that way, mostly because
Tim
when you do that, you've got the wing, and the wing gets in the way, in my opinion. And when you start hammering down on that, you really kind of have to watch your wing. And so, I don't know. I've never been really a proponent of taking it out and adjusting it down when it's just as easy to just wrap it that way.
Yeah, I don't like tying it off on the base either. So That's
Oh yeah, because Tom's weird. See, that's where he and I will disagree
okay.
all day.
That was a question from Edward on Facebook. We've got one on YouTube. Devin is asking, I missed the beginning, but did Cheech share why he is using pink or purple? I think he meant to ask.
He's purple.
Yeah, I'm just using purple just because I like to be able to see it, and it was in my spool, but you won't be able to see any thread at all when I'm done with this fly. Like no thread will be showing whatsoever.
Not even the head.
Nope.
Mm.
You heard it here first, Rosenbauer. Not even the head.
He's got a trick.
Yeah,
he's gonna trick me.
All right, so if you guys are ready for some trickeration, here's what we're gonna do. Let's see. I'm sizing out a hackle here. I think this is the right one. So this is a Cape hackle that I have from Whiting. It's like a bronze, and I'm using one of these down here, kind of this fella right here. So anyway, I've farmed out a size 12. It's kind of twisty, not a problem. I am going to peel some of the stem like that. Then when I tie this in, the way I have this holding in my fingers is the shiny side is up or facing me. Okay. So with that in mind, I'm going to place this just like this. See how it pokes out underneath the fly? And I'm just going to grab that with like 2 turns, maybe 3. And then I'm going to swing back up here and tie that all the way up the parachute post. Then back down. And then I end up down here. Peel that little stem back, and I'm going to trim him off about right there. So there my parachute is tied in. You can see I have a little bit of extra stem to play with if I need to. Sometimes you need that to adjust your hackle around. And then I'm just going to wrap forward. Now, for my dubbing, these legs sometimes don't get the memo that they're supposed to keep that angle even though I'm hammering on them. So what I'm going to do is just do the same dubbing that I used before.
Synthetic dubbing.
Synthetic dubbing. Oh no, just because you trapped that beaver back in '04. When I say '04, I mean 1904. And you got to make use of it.
You get a lot of flies out of one beaver skin, I'll tell you.
I know. So I'm not on beaver patrol. I'm just doing synthetics now. So just like Tom, pretty thin dubbing noodle because we're going to build this up a little bit. And I'm going to build up right up to the eye. Okay. And used all that dubbing noodle just to cram all that dubbing in here. So I got to get some more. So I'll just keep building this up. This is the most boring part of fly tying tutorials when I'm trying to build up a dubbing noodle on a fly that uses a lot of it. And usually we have Brigham queued up with like some clown music or something that he plays. All right, so we're going to keep wrapping back. I'm going to pull this down a little bit because it's getting a little bit bulky. And then just
if you wound that counterclockwise, it wouldn't.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You're not even doing a very good Flagler impersonation.
I'm sorry. Nobody can replace Tim. What can I say?
No. So check this out. My final wrap of thread terminated behind the parachute post, and I'm going to tie off on the post. So I'm just going to let my hackle or my thread hang behind the parachute post. And that is where I will end. It's your turn to wrap hackle first, tough guy.
Here we go. All comes down to this, doesn't it? Got the right camera. Yeah. Okay.
A great comment
Here
early in the show from Rob. I miss Tim, kind of like watching Larry, Mo, and Curly without a Larry.
Yeah.
Is Larry the like annoying nerd of that group? I'm not familiar.
You don't know the Three Stooges?
No, that was just a joke, Tom.
Well, you are young.
You know,
are
I
a
know
young
who they
kid.
are, but it's still like even when I was young, it was like way old. So just saying.
And this
Did
is
we
where-
lose audio, or are you just concentrating really hard?
No, I'm just concentrating on my parachute hackle.
Don't screw it up.
This is where it's hard because I'm tying from above and I can't. And I want to cram more hackle in there because I like. Now I'm going to tie mine in front. Cheech is going to tie his off on the post, and to tie it off in front, you just grab all your hackle, pull it back until you're just left with that tip. And then you catch the tip and give it a bunch of really firm turns and wind a little bit back on there. And then I find I always tie it off on the far side. I'm going to change glasses. I can't figure out.
This is like wearing Broncos gear to a Raiders stadium. You're just asking for haters that way, Tom. You're just asking for it.
And then I'm going to come over on the far side and just use those fine scissors to cut that off. Couple haters in there. I love that term, Cheech.
Because it's all they're doing.
That's all they're doing. You're right. Is hating. There. And then, so now I've got my parachute hackle on there. And then to whip finish with parachute hackle, people have problems with it, but it's really not that hard when you do it this way. What I like to do is I get my whip finish tool and I form that triangle and I put that up against the eye, right? So I got it right up against the eye. And then I use my fingers to pull the hackle out of the way. And now I can whip finish nice and clean and not trap any hackle fibers under there. And then I got this new tool from Hairline. The Stonfo is thread cutter. It's like the thing Flagler has on the end of his whip finish tool.
Were you grooming your cat with it earlier?
No, you just come in here and you cut your thread like that. It's
awesome.
You know what else it's got? It's got a really nice dubbing needle that's small enough so you can poke the glue out of even a tiny dry fly hook on the other end. It's a great tool. I just got this the other day, but it's a Stonefo, but Hairline has them, and I really like it.
Cool.
So there it is.
The Schroder's hopper.
The Schroder's parachute hopper. Ooh.
Well, I like it.
Okay.
But there's work to do. But there's work to do. I didn't come here, to not tie a good hopper. All right, so here we go. What I'm going to do on mine is I'm going to take this hackle now and I'm just going to crease it down. What happens is that puts a little tiny fracture in that stem and it makes your first turn of hackle lay down nice. So I'm wrapping this so that the dull side is facing up. And you can see how those feathers slightly sweep upward as I wrap.
Up. Oh, Flagler would be incensed.
So do me a favor. If you have a nice Cree hackle, look on the shiny side and look on the dull side. On the dull side, it's just Grizzly. So if you're wrapping dull side down, you should never buy anything but Grizzly. There you go. I'm off my soapbox and I'm going to make the second turn.
Okay.
So What I'm going to do is I'm just going to wrap each turn of hackle underneath the previous. And this way I can jam tons of hackle in there. See that?
Yeah.
And now what I'm going to do when I'm done wrapping is I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to squeeze it between the wrapped hackle and the excess twice. And it's tied off. And I'm going to come in here and cut off. Go in there and cut off my hackle now. And so now I'm ready to whip finish. And I'll show you how I do it. I take a needle with a really cool purple handle. I'm going to grab some super glue.
Everything's purple.
Well, yeah. This Renzetti started it all. I'm going to take some of that glue and I'm just going to push that in against the back of that parachute post. So the last spot that glue touched, or the thread touched, is getting super glue treatment. I'm going to get a thinner needle in there. That one doesn't do a very good job. All right, there we are. All right, so once that's in, I'm just going to cut off my thread, maybe clean up the body a little bit.
I see some purple.
You do see some purple. And guess what? That's
I
a hot
see some
spot.
purple.
It's a little trigger. So there you have it. That's my version of a Schroder or Schroder's hopper.
Schroder.
Schroder's
All right, Davis.
hopper.
I guess we are ready to.
Tom, why don't you go ahead and put your version up on
Yeah.
the screen, and I'll compare them side by side.
Okay. And we rotate, right?
And we rotate.
We do the spin. We do the spin. Oops.
We both get extra points for using calf body hair and not yarn, in my opinion.
Yeah. It would be a lot easier with yarn for sure.
Correct. That's what Flagler would have done.
Did you put the voting thing up, Davis?
Yep, it is up. So
Okay.
in the comments there, you can use that link to cast your vote. And shortly we'll figure out who's the winner.
Oh, man.
Spin,
This
spin,
is
spin.
always nerve-wracking.
Oh, yeah. I won't be able to sleep tonight.
Well, no matter who wins, you know Flagler's going to chime in and say, well, you only lost because I wasn't in there.
Yeah. Or at least I won't get third place this time.
Neither will I. That's good.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you've ever gotten third place.
Are you sure?
I don't think so.
Well, if I take second place on this, I would actually prefer to take the bronze medal just to say I had one. Let's say there was no participant that got the second place so that I can get third place on this one.
Okay.
If, it comes to that. So what RPM do you think is the best, the most effective spin on these, Tom?
I'd say about like 10. What do you
10
think?
RPM.
I mean, we could go faster. We both
All right,
got
well,
Renzetti.
we're waiting on the votes to come in. We did have a question earlier kind of pertaining to the segmentation. The question was, can you wrap the ribbing so the front of the body segments are larger than the rear like a real hopper?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can. I kind of tried to do that. But yeah, ideally, yes, you would do that.
And
But
it would be
we're both
far
amateurs
more
and we're-
effective. It would be a far more effective fly too.
And maybe ask that question next time when Flagler's on, because he'll give you like an underwater photograph of why you need to have them like that, and behavior of fish not eating a fly with improper ribs.
Yeah.
We had another
Tim's
question.
gonna kill us both.
We had another question from Laurent Lacroix asking, jokes apart, Tom and Cheech, did you ever use that wing method to make a caddis wing?
Absolutely. On a Hemingway caddis, it's super good. I'll do that with duck quill. It makes them last a lot longer too.
Yeah, or a Henryville.
Yes.
Yeah. But honestly, I usually use hair or CDC on my caddis wings now. Or even
CDC
yarn.
is really hard to beat, especially when you want to tie a skatey caddis.
Yeah. Is your finger getting tired? You're getting carpal
No, I have
tunnel?
this awesome crank from Renzetti. I just have my finger stuck into it. It's actually really, it's really hitting its second wind now.
Oh, well, I have a Renzetti too, but I don't have any awesome crank.
Well, we might have to twist some arms. See, I wore an Orvis shirt for this occasion, and so we can make official requests.
Oh, somebody else's dog.
Yep, that's a poodle and a bulldog, a bull poo.
Both
It
of
really
the
is
same
a poodle
dog,
and a
or
bulldog fighting.
two different dogs?
Yeah.
We'll give this another minute so people could cast their votes. I'll drop the link
to victory.
I'll drop the link again in the comments for those who might have just tuned back in.
Are there any votes for Flagler?
No votes for
any write-ins?
That would be bad if Tim still won without even participating.
All right, it's pretty consistent right now. 58% and 41%. So there's a clear winner starting to unfold here.
Oh, son, we better I don't know. These always make me nervous, Tom.
I know, Cheech. I know.
Well, look at that
beautiful wing. Jeez. Look at that beautiful. Does that look like a hopper from underneath? I mean, look at that.
Well, it looks like a hopper that's not going to get away very fast if it tries to get eaten, that's for sure.
Yeah. Look at that. What a thing of beauty.
Does your hopper double as a caddis? Didn't think so.
I could make it work. Look how lifelike it looks.
Oh my gosh. Mine's a dead drift, as they should be fished. Right there.
Yes, yes. Only twitch when nothing else works, right?
That's true, because hoppers don't, like when they hit the water, it really shocks them. If it's trout water, they really don't.
You know, I've noticed in some waters they do. I noticed in Chile a couple of weeks ago that it was windy and the hoppers were really kicking when they hit the water, and you had to sometimes twitch the fly to get the fish to notice it. Because they've been doing their fitness by flying in that 60-mile-an-hour Patagonian wind down there. I know, but usually, yeah, the best solution for a hopper is dead drift. I agree with you. All right, shall we call it, Davis?
I think we should call it. We've reached our apex of voting.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
All right, so drum roll here. In second place with 40% of the vote from Salt Lake City, Utah, Cheech, you came in second. Tom with 60%.
Tom wins.
That's my first win.
And you're not going to be able to talk about this with Tim because he's going to say that he would have taken you down. And also, we deserve. there needs to be a recount. Okay.
Well, you
there
know,
you have it.
Tim broadcasts it on his channel, and so I don't know. Yeah, those people can vote too. So maybe because he's.
I think Tom's been busy the last month getting a whole bunch of fake followers to vote for this. I knew it.
Yeah, there's this service. There's this service in Russia that you can hire to vote for you in a fly tying contest.
Well, apparently it's working out for you, buddy. Just kidding. Excellent fly. I think I'm going to tie some with red legs now.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it'll be awesome.
Well, I did practice. How many did I tie? 1, 2,
Rosenbauer's
3.
in shock right now.
1, 2, 3. I know. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I tied 11 for practice.
I did. This is my 5th one.
Yeah.
But great times for sure.
Yeah, it was fun. I honestly missed Tim because it's just I don't know. It's just not as fun giving you grief as it is giving.
I
Tim
know.
grief.
It's like going on a trip with 2 people versus 3 people.
Yeah,
you know,
and Tim's like the straight man. You know, Tim's like the straight man here.
Yeah, he's the one that keeps everything in line and going, and we're usually the dudes on the outer banks.
Yeah. So next month, hopefully, we will have Tim back. We don't know when yet. We all travel, and fishing season is coming. So we'll have to set it up. But if you watch the Orvis Facebook and YouTube channels, it'll be announced. It'll be hopefully sometime in April. So anyway, thank you all for tuning in. We really appreciate you and your comments. Not a lot of questions this week, so this is your chance to ask questions while it's happening. So the next time you come in, don't be shy about asking questions, because we're in all seriousness, we're here to help your tying become better. Help you be a little more comfortable with your tying, and we tie it differently with different methods, and so don't be shy about asking us questions.
Yeah, we'll give correct answers about 60% of the time.
Yep, and thanks to all those bots that I hired for the votes. Appreciate that.
Okay, I'm gonna go find some freaking bots. All right,
everyone. Have a great week, and thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next month.
David.